Okay, today I thought I will show you how to make custom reports in Chromeleon, and I thought like a good example to show you was this 80 to 70 tuning mix injection. Those of you who are working in the environmental field must be familiar that after certain injections you shoot the 80 to 70 tuning mix, which contains a certain group of compounds that you check for tailing, and if the ion ratio criteria which is set by the EPA, if it still passes or no. For example, let me zoom in on this area. So I've already labeled the peaks and stuff. So like the tuning or the EPA criteria has some specification for the amount of tailing for pentachlorophenol and benzidine, and the amount of degradation of DDT should be within certain percentage and such. And an important criteria is DFTPP. So if I click on DFTPP peak, you can see the mass spectra over here, and they have certain criteria on which should be the base peak, and for example 442 should be certain percentage of, or 441 should be certain percentage of 442, like that. For example, let me show you the criteria itself. So this I took it from online, but I think this is accurate. So they have this criteria, right? So like 51 should be 10 to 80% of the base peak, 68 to be less than 2% of 69, like that. So let's see if we can make a custom report which shows if the injection has passed all these criteria or no. This would be an interesting exercise. So let's try and do that. So the first thing you do is go to the report designer. Okay, so you have all these pre-made report in the template. So, but none of these reports, they have the DFTPP passing criteria. So let's insert a new blank sheet. Okay, so I go to insert blank. So what comes up is a blank sheet which looks just like Excel or any other spreadsheet. So what do we need to do? I mean, first of all, if you look at the criteria, it calls for base peak. I see this base peak all the time. I mean, like 198 has to be the base peak, or 50%, within 50% of 442. So let's find out which is the base peak first of all, right? So let's do this. So I'll just type in, just like you type in Excel, base peak. Okay. So let me move this. So we need to find out the base peak. So how do you do that? So this is like a custom variable. So you go to, this is not a custom variable, but this is one of the variables, right? The base peak. So you go to this all variables you see over here, which has like a function fx. So you click on there, and it pops up this screen. So what you do is, in this formula, you click over here, okay, edit formula, and you have to choose the formula basically. So for the base peak in the mass spectrum, you will find it under mass spectrometry. Okay, you click on there. Okay, and then over here the variables that are available is mass spectrum. Okay, so that's good. And so if you look at the formula itself, you'll get an idea of what's going on. So the mass spectrum by retention time 0. So let's click on these parameters. Okay, so here you have options. Okay, So so right now the default is spectrum of a fixed retention time, so and 0, so we don't want that. So what I'll do is I want it on the interactive spectrum. Okay, so if you remember, like the spectrum is already clicked. Okay, so let's do that, interactive spectrum. Rest of the options over here, mask filter, none, baseline correction, use settings in the processing method, noise reduction, do not use noise reduction. So I just wanted to show you the other options. So interactive spectrum, click OK. Okay, so once you do that, so you get a whole another set of options over here, or a whole another set of variables, okay, on this pane or this window. So what you want by mass spectrum is you want the intensity, right? So you click on the intensity, okay, and let's see what options we have. So you again click on parameters. Okay, so compute intensity of the mass peak with the one greatest mass. Actually, I want the first, the greatest intensity, right? So I'll do it intensity. So if you do mass, it will just give you the highest mass. So my acquisition was like 35 to 500, so it will give you just 500. So if I do intensity, it will give you the highest mass spec peak. Okay, I click OK, and I click OK over here, and I close. Okay, so what it has given me is the intensity of the base peak. Okay, so yeah, so basically that variable, so if I double click on here, so that variable is basically the intensity of the base peak, or intensity of the highest peak. So I want to know what the highest peak is. So I think I told you slightly wrong. So I want to know what the highest peak is. Okay, so let's do that. So let's so I need this value. I need this value of the intensity itself. But let's see what the base peak is. So I'll go over here and insert all variables. Do the same thing again. Over here, mass spectrometry, mass spectrum. I don't want it by retention time, I want it by interactive spectrum. Click OK, and I want the mass. I think this should be the correct one. Okay, compute mass of the mass for the mass peak of with the greatest intensity. So that should give me the highest mass. Okay, click OK. Click OK over here. Close it. There you go. So that's 197.9434. So if you don't want to see like so many decimal points, so many digits after the decimal point, you can go to the format, I believe, and decrease decimals. So this is what you're used to seeing. So let me, just like Excel, you can insert cells. So insert cell. So this particular column, I'll name it as intensity. Okay, and this I'll name it as mass. Good. So so I have something to start off with. So similarly, you can do let's do this. Let's do the second highest peak. Highest peak. Okay. Just to show you again. Okay. And like I showed you, go to insert. So I want the intensity, right? So I'll go to insert variables over here, mass spectrometry, mass spectrum, right? And I'll change the parameters over here. I want interactive spectrum, okay? And I want the intensity, and I want it. So the first grid. So I already have the first greatest. I want the second greatest, right? The second greatest mass, and I want intensity of that. So you have an option. So over here you can see, compute intensity at mass for the mass peak at the, at whatever mass you want, right? So, but we'll use that. That also is useful in our case, and I'll show you. Close this, and there you have. So, but I want to know what the mass is, right? So, let me do this. So let me copy this. Control C, Control V, and if I double click, I can change it, and you can change your formula over here itself. So instead of 1 by intensity, I'll do 2, right? Because I want the second highest. So this is like, you don't have to be a programmer to know all this, because it's quite intuitive, and so I'll close this, and there you go. So 442 is my second highest peak. So let's go to the let's see the mass spectrum itself. So so this is DFTPP, the mass spectrum. So it says like 197.9, that's 198 is the highest, and the second highest is 442, which is true. Okay, so this is by interactive spectrum. So if I click on this one, it might change slightly, and and your results over here will also change. So if I do this one, is different, you can see it changing, right? Did you see over here what happened? So this one 442 is the high base peak, whereas over here 198 is the base peak. Okay. So so what is required next? So let's see. Well, let's look at the criteria again. So basically what we need is so all this calculation is based on the relative intensities of peaks, right? With respect to, say, 69 sometimes it's with respect to 198. So what we need to know is the actual intensities of all of these. So 51, 68, 70, 127, all of these. So let's start off with 51, okay? And I'll show you. So I'll say intensity of 51. Just like in Excel, you just type it in, okay? And then same as this one, insert all variables, okay? And now to search for a variable. So that would be in mass spectrometry. I mean, you have a whole lot of options. I mean, like the example I've shown is kind of a difficult one, or a tough one. If you want to do tailing and everything, tailing of the pentachlorophenol, that's very easy, because you already have all those formulas under that should be under peak results. But I'm showing you a difficult one so that so that you can do the easy ones on your own. So the variable is mass spectrum, and I want to do it by interactive spectrum, right? I click OK. I get a range of options, and this time I want the intensity, right? And this time I want to compute the intensity at mass peak of 51. Okay, okay over here, close, and there you have. So this is the intensity of 51, and similarly, you do for the rest. So let me do that. So one easy way, or to fasten, you can just Control C, Control V, and what is the next one? 68. So I'll just type in 68, and I'll do Control C, Control V, copy paste, and instead of going through the insert variable, so I can make changes over here itself. So over here, mass, instead of mass 51, I can do mass 68. See, so you see in this formula, so the formula shows up over here, and that makes your life a bit easier. So 68. Okay. So similarly, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the video now. But similarly, what I'm going to do is do it for all of these. 68, 70, 127, 198. So I'll see you in a little bit.